Tom?
Year of work were destroyed in half an hour, said farmer Kathia Weber. Several devastated fields. Air traffic was also disrupted. Munich International Airport reported numerous flights delayed as a ground crews worked to clear runway and ice and debris. Train service were suspended on several routes after tracks were blocked by fallen branches and damaged power lines. Insurance companies have already begun assessing to damage with a could run into the billion, making the storm one of the most expensive hailstorms in the Germany recent history. Meteorologists explained that the storm was caused by a rare combination of the most Mediterranean air cold into the North Cold Front and phenomenon increasingly linked to climate change. Bavarian officials promised to provide rapid assistance to residents of farmers, while scientists warned such extreme weather events are becoming more frequent. For many residents of the region, this hailstorm will be remembered not only for this sudden force, but also as another sign for changing climate reality in Europe. Madrid has been plunged into chaos after a powerful storm swept across the Spanish capital, bringing torrential rain, gale force winds and flash flooding that left entire neighborhoods underwater. In just few hours, more than a month was in rain, overwhelming drainage and transformed streets into fast-flowing rivers. Cars were swept away, metro stations flooded, and power lines collapsed, plunging parts of the city in darkness. It was terrified, said Lauza Fernandez, a shop assistant who was received from the standard car. The water rose so quickly, I thought I would make it out alive. Authorities confirmed several fatalities and dozens of injured. Hundreds of residents were evacuated from basements in low-lying homes, and emergency service working around the clock, often wading chest deep through the floodwaters. Public transportation suffered severe disruption. Madrid metro network were particularly shut, while train and buses forced long delays. Barras International Airport suspended flight for several hours, stranded passengers amidst scenes of confusion. Tourists were also caught in the chaos, with landmarks like Puerta del Sol and Plaza Major submerged. Videos shared online showed hailstones bouncing across historic squares and water pouring down the steps of the Prada Museum. In surrounding region, farmland was badly hit. Vineyards and olive groves were inundated just weeks before harvest, threatening significant agricultural losers. Economists warned the storm financial toll could run into hundreds of millions euros. Meteorologists explained that the storm was triggered by a clash between humid Mediterranean air cold Atlantic front intensified by record summer heat. Experts warn that climate change is increasing to frequency such extreme weather events across the Spain, already one of Europe's most climate vulnerable nations.
Mira, 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 mira. Corre para acá.
Powerful storm swept across France, caused destructive wind, torrential rain, and widespread flooding that left millions of people homeless. Authorities say it's one of the most severe weather events in the country in recent years. The Atlantic coast was hardest hit by the storm, with the wind gusts reaching 116 km/h in the Brittany and Normandy. Streets were littered, the fallen trees, roofs were torn off, houses and boats crashed into the harbour wall. It was one of the sea wanted to swallow the city, said fisherman Alain Dupont from the Saint Malo, describing the waves crashing about the pier. Paris was not spared either. Heavy rain overwhelmed the capital drainage system, flooding parts of the metro and forcing passengers at the west through the neck-deep water. Emergency service responded to more than 700 calls across the country in just 24 hours. Power outage affected nearly half a million people, particularly in the western region, and utility companies working around the clock to restore service. Social media was flooded with the videos showing rivers and hail sweeping through the marine plants and the cars buried under the white pile of ice. Munich green spaces and surrounding farmland were destroyed. The trees in the England garden were completely stripped bare, and the neighboring orchards and hope fields suffered catastrophic damage. Raising fields and significant losers is agriculture. 10 minutes destroyed a well-seasoned work, said farmer Lucas Buller. Authorities estimated the damage of hundreds of millions of euros, and insurance companies are bracing for avalanches of claims. Meteorologists explained that the storm was caused by the hot, humid, and cooling with a sharp northern cold front, an extapable mixed with becoming more common in the Central Europe's changing climate. The Bavarian government has promised to provide emergency aid assistance with the cleanup, but not many Munich residents. The storm was stark reminder of how vulnerable even the modern city when the natural unleashes its fury. Europe is riddled after the wave of powerful storms swept across the continent, bringing hurricane-force wind, torrential rain, hail and flooding from Spain to Poland. Authorities have confirmed dozens of fatalities and hundreds of injured, with hundreds of thousands of households remain without electricity. In France, Paris, hammered by heavy rain, is a lighting force to close up the metro lines and grounded flights to Charlie the airport. Streets and flying and borders turned into rivers. An emergency crew reported more than 5,000 clouds overnight. Germany also brought to breath with a tornado-like wind North Rhine-Westphalia, ripping roofs to homes and uprooted trees. Rail service were suspended, highway blocked, and the school closed to official urged residents to stay indoors. It felt like the sky exploded, said Jens Fischer, with so-called lifted to overturned by sudden gusts. In Italy, Venice and Milan were swept by the flash floods, while the Rome enduring the violent hailstorms that shattered windows and damaged cars. Authorities warned to rising river levels in the north, in the fear of further flooding in the Po Valley. Spain forcing massive coastal swells and lightning storms, particularly in Barcelona and Valencia, where the Poland and Czech Republic struggled with the power cuts and transportation shutdowns after gale force winds across Central Europe. Airports across the continent suffered several days while thousands of travelers were stranded with the train station. Insurance provider estimates the damage could reach billions of euros after gale force winds across the Central Europe. Airports across the continent suffered several days with thousands of Mediterranean said the storm system was following the coastal line by a Mediterranean air called Atlantic Front, creating a volatile chain reaction across the Europe. Scientists the climate change is making such extreme wide-reaching weather events increasingly frequent.
Nein, lass es. Ja, ich lass es.
powerful storm has swept through Germany, caused widespread destruction and significant damage in several regions. The storm, which brought heavy rain, strong winds and flooding, affected both urban and rural areas, forcing authorities to issue numerous warnings and close major transportation routes. The northern and central parts of the country were hardest hit, with wind speed reaching 113 km per hour in some areas. Coastal region forces storm surge were led to temporarily close to parts of the shipping homes. In major cities like Hamburg and Bremen, the storm caused delays and cancellation of train and flights, while downed trees and damaged power lines left thousands of without electricity. Emergency service responded to hundreds of calls, cleared flooded basements, collapsing roofs and blocked roads. Firefighters worked throughout the clock to clear debris and rescue damaged buildings. Despite the chaos of fatalities, none were reported, although several people were injured by fallen branches and debris. In rural area, farmers reported significant damage to crops and livestock. Floodwaters swept through the agriculture fields, raising concerns about the impact of oncoming harvest season. Local authority in affected region is currently assessing the damage to preparing for possible financial assistance to support recovery efforts. The German Weather Service issued a severe weather warning ahead the storm, advised residents to avoid unnecessary travel to stay at home. Many schools were closed to safety reasons and a public event were cancelled. Meteorologists warn that extreme weather conditions in Germany are becoming more frequent in climate change and contributing an increasing in intensity of the storm and floods. This is not the first time Germany has had to deal with the extreme weather conditions, but the frequency and severity of such events rising concerns about the countries rated the further challenges. Authorities have urged citizens to take weather warnings seriously and ensure to their homes and advise protect to the storm and flooding. As the storm moves eastward, northward contact and also high alert to possible flooding the storm damage. The full extent of the damage in Germany is still by assessed, but recovery force in expected to the several days is not weeks. A wave of severe sandstorms swept across Europe, leaving behind a trail of destruction, chaos and astonishment. From Italy and France to Germany, Austria and Switzerland, communities were hit by sandstorms the size of a golf ball. Some reports were described a piece of ice the size of a tennis ball falling from the sky. In the northern Italy, where fertile plains to Lombardy and Veneto were devastated, vineyards and orange separated significant losers, and farmers warning to the entire initial harvest of grapes, peaches and apples could be destroyed. It was like war. France reported significant damage in Lion Island in a parts of provinces. Streets turned into minutes and hailstorm-covered cars, smashed windows and blacked storm drains caused flash floods. The noise was different, said residents cleared the bush. In the southern Germany, especially in Bavaria, emergency service responded to thousands of calls of roofs collapsed under a wave. Accumulated hail and glass planes exploded to impact. Several summer festivals were abruptly cancelled and the tents used to shelter quickly filmed by the frightening families. Switzerland and Austria were also not spared. In Zurich and Innsbruck, public transport was paralyzed, with the trains and trams on the standstill. A hailstorm blocked the tracks. At Zurich airport, dozens of flights were delayed after planes were pelted with ice, leaving passengers stranded. Hospitals in the affected region strained hundreds of people for injury ranging from the cuts and businesses consolidated caused by the fallen debris. Tens of thousands of households were left without power, and insurance company warning that the total damage could reach hundreds of millions of euros. The Spanish region of Valencia has been hit by a severe storm that has brought torrential rain, violent winds and severe flooding, leaving streets submerged and continues gradually to recover. Meteorologists say a system filled the moisture by Mediterranean dumped more than 200 mm of rain in just 24 hours, one of the most intense downpour in decades. Entire neighborhoods in the city of Valencia were left underwater, and the residents were forced to wade through waist-deep water. Emergency service carried out hundreds of rescue, including drivers trapped in submerged cars and families evacuated from ground-floor apartments. At least 4 fatalities have been confirmed, while dozens of people have been injured by falling debris on traffic incidents. The part of Valencia where the barriers in Europe was temporarily closed after a rain that knocked down by strong winds disrupted shipments across the Mediterranean. Public transport was brought in a standstill, subway lines were suspended, flights were diverted, and rail services were cancelled throughout the region.
This one.
Several European nations have been struck by a wave of violent hailstorm, leaving behind the scene of chaos, destruction and disbelief. From northern Italy to southern Germany, Austria and parts of France, residents awaked the road crowded in ice, damaged vehicles and crews destroyed in the fields. Meteorologists say the storm were followed by the clash of moist Mediterranean air with a strong cold front from the northern Europe, creating a supercell condition. Hailstorms are some larger than a golf ball, pounding the city center and rural area alike. In Mourning cars were left with the shattered widespread, while the Bologna, Italy public transport was paralyzed. The hail-covered tram stack. Agriculture Associational report severe losses. Vineyard in Tuscany and orange in Austria suffered significant damage, with the farmers describing the storm as the worst in the decade. One farmer near Verona lamented, "In 10 minutes we lost what we had worked for all year." Emergency services were inundated with calls. Dozens of injuries were reported, mainly from the falling hail and the raw accident caused by sudden ice leaks. Firefighters in Austria rescued motorists stranded on a highway blackened in ice, while the France-Rhone Valley flooded added the crisis and a hail-blocked drains. Video shattered widely online showed iconic city squares buried under a layer of ice, sparked disbelief among the viewers. Tourists caught on the storm described as apocalyptic in the like winter in the middle of summer. Experts warn that Europe have seen a rise in extreme hail events in recent years, while the climate change likely intensify with volatility. Scientists know that the winter air cold most may issue falling stronger storm capable of production large destructive hail. The storm also suffered the European transport network. Rail service hit in Germany and France suffered severe disruption, while airport in Milan, Brussels and Prague experienced significant delay. Trucks were banned from the driving in some area Italy due to dangerous crosswalks. Meteorologists warn that climate change may be felt to intensify of this storm. We are seeing more frequent and violent weather events across Europe, said Dr. Hans Keller, a climate scientist in Berlin. European leaders pledged to carry off rapid relief force. France deployed military engineers to clear blocked roads, while Germany announced emergency funds to support reconstruction efforts. EU officials trusted to need a continental cooperation to deal with the climate-related disaster. For millions of people across Europe, this storm was not just a night to extreme weather, but another stark reminder of the continent's growing vulnerability to the fury of nature.
Gesù mio.
The Spanish Meteorological Service has declared a red alert for the eastern parts of the Valencia region due to heavy rain. Thursday, a repeat of the flooding that killed 235 people in the area last October. Spanish National Meteorological Service warned of extreme danger and a very difficult situation in Tarragona, Castellón and Valencia on a Sunday and Monday. On this warning was echoed Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez. City of meteorological warning, Sanchez urged citizens to follow the instruction of the emergency service to all times. Local official announced that school and college, libraries and parks, as well as public space including gardens, markets and cemeteries would be closed in the Valencia on a Monday. Overnight rains caused local flooding and overflowing of Rio Aldea, one of the towns hardest hit by October 2024 flooding that killed more than 213 people. No casualties have been reported. On a Sunday afternoon, residents of the city received a red weather alert on this phone. The flooding caused by heavy rains in October last year were exacerbated by the effect of climate change. As a warning atmosphere holds more water, climate change increasing the risk and intensity of the flood from extreme rainfall. Local residents stretched a series of protests against for the believed this mismanagement of last year's crisis. Calamity the regional offices did not warn in the time, despite the fact that meteorological service had issued warning.